guys, this is HOPEsaidit here with another podcast for you. Today, or this week rather, we talked about finance and marital finance. So are you having a joint account? Are you having a separate account? Read the blog post at HOPEsaidit.com. But here I have my husband, Brandon, who wanted to just chime in. I just wanted to explain kind of why we do what we do. When I say we're married and that we have our own separate accounts, people start looking like we're on the road to divorce, but I promise we're not. Okay, there's a method to our madness, and I'll kind of give us some background. So when we got married, almost 7 years ago, we did pre-marital counseling. And one of the, it was 8 weeks or something, I don't know. Yeah. But either way, it was, one day each week. And, we were going through and we were like, oh, this is easy, this is cool, until we got to the finance one. And that's, I think, the only class that really made us think, like, I don't think we really thought this through. And he was asking questions like, who's going to do the bills and what the budget going to look like and all this other stuff. And I was thinking, well, why don't I just keep my account? Like, it's been working well for me for a long time, so I'll just keep my account. And I didn't know how he'd think about that. We just didn't even think joint account was, did you even think of a joint account?
I didn't at all, no.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So that's just how it was. I was like, he got the bills, I have the everything else, and it just works, right? So you don't have this lump sum of money necessarily that we're going off of. It's just a flow going to him that's only for one purpose, and a flow going to me that's only for one purpose. Why do you think that works for us?
I think everything goes back to the beginning. We didn't necessarily start out with the idea of, hey, you have an account, I have an account. We dabbled with the idea and the thought of the traditional, or what we deem, I guess, traditional joint account. I think part of it was that my career, especially at the time we got married, my career financially was just making a bit more than yours. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying there was a difference.
I was making a little more than her.
Hey, whatever, humble brag. But anyway, there was just a gap there. And then with that, and then on top of the fact that I myself am one who, if there's a bill, I'm going to pay it. It could be 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pay it right now so I know that bill is no longer there. But I was horrible at saving. I couldn't save because I would say, yo, there's $300 in the bank. I bet. I mean, I get paid in 2 weeks, so I got about $250 to spend. I'll be straight. I don't need $50 for gas. You know what I mean? While you were more focused on saving and like the future that I couldn't see. Like, hey, 6 years from now, I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's 6 years. Let's worry about that in 5 years, right? I'm like, you're worried about it right now, right? So because of that, obviously we get married, we move in together. It was like, well, yo, I make plenty to take care of us as far as all the bills in the house. You just do whatever. So it was like, all right, since you're strong at saving and I'm strong at, paying bills, and also too, with taking care of some of the other stuff too, right? Whether it be like setting up all the utilities and all the stuff, or maintenance on the vehicles, and just all those other little knick-knack things. It just made sense. Like, okay, financially I had it, and just my mentality was already there. So then we kind of just slid right into it naturally, like into our natural positions that we were already comfortable with, that made us comfortable as well, right? So you weren't looking to me like, hey, what does your savings account look like? Yeah. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna give you this money, and you just do whatever with it. Like, I don't even want to see it. Wherever it goes, it's cool. Every once in a while, I check in, like, how we looking, and then of course the whole thing of we're always saving towards something. So I'm always like, hey, where we at? Where's our goal? At what point are we actually gonna make a move? Yada yada yada. So it just allowed us to slide into our natural positions that made us comfortable, that we were always probably conditioned or in a bit kind of used to.
Okay, let me just clarify. You said, I got plenty to take care of the bills. I know what I'm saying. When we got married, we lived in a condo. Like, it was an apartment. It was cheaper than most apartments. Condo. Yeah, so that's why we took care of it. We're not balling here.
No.
Just FYI. Anyways, but I think... I feel like he said, we played into our strengths. Like, let's not get it twisted. I pay the bills, okay? I've been living by myself since I was 19, thank you, and I never had a late bill.
Most people in the college have been too. Carry on.
Okay, first of all, no, you lived in a dorm, bro. What are you talking about?
I never lived in a dorm. What are you talking about?
Are you serious? Those on-campus apartments.
I lived
in a dorm for 1 year and then I moved off. Oh my gosh. So for savings, we just played into our strengths. I knew how to pay bills. I was never late on a bill. He is just very anxious when he sees a bill. So it could be September, and it's like due December 10th, and he's, oh, well, let's pay it now. Why? You have until December.
I've seen a lot of pink slips in my life.
I have not. See, we have different numbers.
Financial hardships will do that to you.
Are you serious? We were broke. We're not going to go on a broke spree. We're not going to do this. Anyways, I was good at saving just because that's what I do. I saved. He didn't think futuristic, not necessarily. Like he's good, like, here's what I want to do and here's what we think we should do. But saving up for it, he's more like, when the time comes. And I paid everything cash. I had to save up since I, had a job since forever. I always saved up and paid. I never really had, like, even when we got married, that's when I got a credit card, because I just paid for everything cash. So it just worked for us. And I know I asked a lot of people, did you think it was weird that we had a separate account?
No, I didn't. I thought it was
whatever. Exactly.
I thought it was one of those deals where I thought it was more of like to each his own. Like,
and that's what they taught in premarital counseling. They were like, it's not right or wrong. You can have joint, you can have separate, as long as you communicate and let each other know what's going on. So I think after that we were like, okay, we're good. Like you have your own bank, and right now I have my own bank, and and we do it that way. As long as we know everything bills is him, and there's not much left over after the month is over because he takes care of all the bills. And then I do everything else. Mm-hmm. Now, I feel like a lot of people would probably look and say, that means that our communication isn't on point or whatever. But really, that just means, for me, at least when I was thinking about it, that we trust each other more, right? Like, not that if you have a joint account, you're not trusting each other. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying that takes a lot of trust to just know, I'm sure the bills are paid right. And I'm sure, everything else that helps us do is right. Like, the savings, like, that's me, so I can run off tomorrow and he's just gonna be broke. So there you go. So some of the pros and cons that I mentioned in my blog post of having a separate account is like the gifts. If I do something, it's not like you're tracking, so gifts are fine to be a surprise. What else? For this is probably a con for some people, but like, little food purchases and stuff, like, you don't necessarily want to know, like, hey, I went to Jack in the Box, like that, I don't know.
But I guess on the con list, kind of to your point, but on the other side of it, some people would have an issue that they don't know what's going out.
Oh, that's true.
Right? Like, so for instance, if someone were to ask you, how much are your bills each month? You probably wouldn't be able to answer that question.
I know.
So, but the point is, you don't know what's going out unless it's your own account, right? Mm. Now, granted, you can easily just lean over, ask, or I open it up, you look, and that answers the question, right? But it's not like readily available, like in your immediate, eyesight or whatever they call it, or whatever you want to say, because it's just not something you deal with, right? Like, just like whatever comes out of your account. I know about it because you tell me, but am I going to know, like, right then and there when it happens? Probably not, right? So some people might make them uneasy.
Well, of course it would. I see why it would.
Yeah, but I guess, again, to our arrangement or the way we have it worked out, it's like, well, if Hope comes home one day and she hit that switch and the light don't cut on, immediately it's like, Brian, what you doing, right? Yeah. And she's well within the right to question me and also be agitated and irritated because, like, that bill must not have been paid, but that bill does not, like, it's not like you get the bill and it cuts off that day. Mm-hmm. It must have been a time period of lapse that you did not pay this bill that you knew you had to pay, that you paid every single month. Same with her. When I come to her and I'm like, yo, I got a flat, I need a new tire, $2,000 worth of repairs on the car or something like that. If I go to her, she's like, I don't have it. Of course, I'm gonna be like, well, hold up, how you do not have it? That's all we do is save. I think it's one of those deals where you have to be very secure in your marriage, confident in y'all's communication ability and skills, and very certain that you really truly know the other person you're dealing with, right? Because obviously, as you said, if there's some malice or something goes haywire, if that person isn't who you thought they were, then of course that messes up everything else as well.
Okay, so what would you say to someone who's like, maybe looking and saying, well, should we do a joint or should we do a separate account? What's up?
I think first you need to know why you're doing it, right? Our reasoning for doing it literally had nothing to do with transparency or lack thereof.
It wasn't like trust and control, you know?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with that. That wasn't even a thought. It was literally just, okay, you're very strong at this. I want you to continue to do that. Mm-hmm. You're very strong at that. I want you to continue to do that. And by keeping them separate, it helped us also, too, in our management of our piece of the equation, right? So if I'm sitting there looking at this account that we have joint, but we're saving in that same account that I'm also paying bills, and I'm sitting there looking at it like, oh, bet. I still got another, couple $100. I can also pay this. And it's like, yo, that was actually savings.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So there's that. So yeah, I'll say definitely you need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Secondarily, personally, I'd say when it comes to like gender roles, so male versus female, if you're going to do something like this, and if it's going to be more like how we have it, a bills versus a savings type thing, me personally, I would look more at, okay, who the earning potential, right?
That's true.
And you understanding what is y'all's future plans. If your future plans is, hey, let's buy the biggest house we can get and stuff like that, then whoever has the better earning potential, base all of your bills and stuff possibly off of that. I'm not saying that's a great idea, but I'm saying base it off of that, while the other person who doesn't have as much earning potential is strictly savings. Now, of course, with that being said, the idea would be that person who doesn't have as great earning potential still has something substantial enough that if something were to happen, y'all were able to maintain, right? So like even in our situation, if one of us were to lose our jobs, the other could maintain. It wouldn't be like the end of the world. But of course, that's where savings comes into play, because as you save and your account gets larger and larger, certain hits or certain things become a lot easier to take. So yeah, while you're doing it, earning potential is definitely like a real thing as well, because there are some situations where some people might not be able to do like a half and half type thing. So then it becomes more of a, okay, we really need to sit down and strategically decide on, how we're going to live because of, the income we have. Thirdly, I would definitely say be going to it with like legitimate, open trust and communication.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that fake stuff like, when y'all went through a honeymoon phase, but like for real to where you will hand your other significant other a check or a bill or whatever the case may be, and you're not going to look back or think twice about it, because whatever y'all agreed to is going to actually happen. And of course, the open communication of being able to question the other and say, hey, did that get taken care of?
Another option I've heard when I posted the blog, I was talking about separate, I was talking about joint, but someone had said you can have a joint account and still have your separate account. What do you feel about that? Like the joint account is where that bill pot kind of comes from, and then you still have your separate account for the... How do I think of that?
Well, I guess to me, the way I look at it is, if we're the way we're set up is obviously we live off my income, so bills, house, all that stuff is coming out of whatever I bring in, and then you're saving, right? So to me, I'm like, what's the point in the whole joint, and then you keep it separate because it's still the same thing, right? Yeah. Now, with that being said, for that example where I said, maybe possibly like the earning potential either isn't as great or for whatever reason, y'all do want to combine, but to where it's like, okay, you can still have kind of the best of both worlds, I guess, to where, okay, we're still going to combine and strategically, like I said, pay bills and live off of however strategically we're kind of combining our incomes. But then you have that separate piece to where, okay, we're still able to do a little bit of saving, or have your own account to take the significant other out for a date or gifts or whatever, right? Like, because I'm not saying there should be any anonymity, but you wanting to be able to still have that fire in your relationship of being able to do the things you used to do prior to marriage. Sometimes that does require being able to have some funds that the other, I'm not gonna say doesn't know is there, but doesn't know where you're spending it, so that you are able to go out and get that surprise gift. You are able to be like, babe, don't even worry about it. Just put some clothes on and can meet me here so we can go, hang out at the hotel of the weekend, go on a trip or whatever the case may be, right? But these are things, again, that you both need to kind of understand up front.
And we have 3 kids, 5 and under, so there's no trips going on here. Don't worry.
No, not yet. No, I got a few more years.
But it's all good. You know what? Anything else you have to add about joint account and separate accounts?
No, I mean, I genuinely think like to each his own. Like you need to figure out what works, and that doesn't mean that it won't change. That doesn't mean that later on down the road we don't decide, okay, let's combine these things, right? And then you also too have to take amongst all this. You also both still have to take into account things such as your own personal retirement, and other things like medical expenses or things like that aren't necessarily like a joint expense, right? Like I can't put my money in Hope's retirement. That doesn't work, right? True. So I mean, I'll just add that in, but definitely be transparent, be open, be honest. I think you'll be fine. I mean, however you set it up is how you set it up. I wouldn't necessarily worry about what everybody else is doing, if it works or not. Find what works best for you and just roll with that.
I feel like one is not more godly than the other. I feel like some people kind of push that narrative like 2 is 1, so 1 bank account and that's that, And if you don't do it, then there's a problem with you in some way.
Well, it kind of goes back to the thing of, how people say, God knows my heart is, right? The point is like, you might do some stuff, but God knows what your real true intent was behind whatever that thing was. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing here. Like, what is your intent? What is your motive? What is your true reasoning behind why you want to do what you do? And this is also, again, it's no different than anything you have in pre-marriage. Like, it's a conversation that needs to be had. Finance is one of the things that it's one of the leading causes of divorce in marriages, right? So it's one of those things you definitely need to discuss up front, because if y'all don't have a clear understanding, then I'm not saying don't get married, but maybe y'all need to hold off and figure out exactly how you're going to deal with this, because it's just going to get worse later on down the road as you each continue to progress in your careers, become more successful, have children. Things start to get more and more intertwined. Like you're unable to just walk away, free and clear, right? So you both need to understand exactly what you're getting into financially.
Like salary, credit score, all that.
All of it.
Yeah,
all of it.
Just don't be surprised with debt when you already said I do. Like, that's not a deal breaker necessarily, but that's an uphill battle. So you want to not be surprised with that in marriage.
Agree.
Okay, well, our kids are asleep, and this is our only free time that we have. So we're going to go out. And I guess I'll see you guys later. If you have not read the blog, HOPEsaidit.com. On social media, I'm at HOPEsaidit everywhere. This is Brandon once again.
Subscribe right here.
There's
no button. No subscribe button.
That's why I don't have them on often. Guys, I'll talk to you later, okay? Bye.
Yes. Do your intro, cuz. Do your intro.
$20 worth less than $100. They the exact same thing with different numbers on them. It's just a tool that they've been